Everybody, welcome to another installment of Show to View with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Alabama, the show of Tiki, Brit lit shit, the do's and don'ts of being on the road, and so much more with industry veteran Miss Steva Casey, currently working for Tiki by the Sea and doing so much more behind the bar there in Birmingham, Alabama. We talk about lots of different things here, things that you should never forget on the road, the essentials, if you will, like a phone charger, and how Brit lit shit played so much of a influential role in Steva's eloquent and yet poised, articulated manner when she talks and phrases everything, frankly. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Steva Casey.
Pitch it, build it to where it sounds authoritative.
Yeah.
You know? So it'd be like, the following shows and showtimes are available.
But I like that, right?
Yeah.
You know what's weird? So when you would listen back to it, because obviously you've got to like decide on a take.
Right.
Did you ever say, God damn, I hate my voice? So many people tell me that when they listen back.
When I listen to my voice, I mean, certainly I have an accent. Excuse me, and I know that I have an accent, but it doesn't sound as twangy to me as it does to other people. Mm-hmm. And so I've worked really hard to remove and from my from the way that I speak.
Yeah. It's what process did you use?
I've tried to slow down so I sound a lot slower too, because I've tried to slow down how I speak in order to not have those pauses.
Yeah. It's astonishing how many people that I watch speak.
Yeah.
Now, not typically in the bar industry. It's actually pretty good. The ums have been eradicated, I guess you could say. But how many people that do public speaking and things, and they use as this natural transition, right. Whereas all it really takes, just a breath.
Sure.
And then keep moving forward. Well, so there's lots to talk about. I know you're in town. I
saw
you bedazzling brassiers, that wonderful alliterative thing that Carly was putting together. I saw some pictures of that. Obviously, Tiki Week's coming up. There's lots to talk about. But I think the main thing here is that as a guy that's never been to Alabama,
okay,
are you a token Alabaman? Is that fair?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm like patient zero for prototypical Alabamian, but I definitely tried to exemplify like the best parts of Alabama.
Yeah.
And I know that with the amount that I travel, that I'm the glimpse that a lot of people see, especially in the bar industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I try to be a good ambassador for my city and then thereby state.
What kinds of things do you want to embody that kind of share with the rest of the states what Alabama's all about?
Sure. You know, Alabama is a gorgeous place.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And it's very green, and there's nature all around. You have a little bit of mountains. You have the ocean if you go from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's a friendly place, right? And so I want people to know that they're always welcome.
Yeah. Especially
in Birmingham. And Birmingham's obviously a lot more liberal than the rest of the state.
A little more progressive than...
Have you listened to that S-Town podcast?
Which one is that?
It's a podcast on This American Life.
Okay.
Or that part of that series.
Yeah.
And when you listen to that podcast, and like when I listen to that podcast, I think to myself, I know these people. Like, I don't know those particular
Right.
people, but I know those people.
That
I
kind
know
of
that
personality,
kind of
yeah.
personality. That rural Alabama, like, country, more ignorant than stupid.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're just ignorant of their, like, outside surroundings.
Mhm.
And those kind of people exist in every state.
Of course. Oh, well, Texas is
You know.
heavily guilty of that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Florida man being a perfect, like,
Yeah.
example of if you took, is Florida man what you see in Miami?
Right.
No, it's a completely different world. So I think that's sort of like what people lose sight of when they think about Alabama too.
I think so. I mean, it's one of those things where you don't think about, as you used the word liberal, you don't think about progressiveness or
Right.
progression when you think of Alabama. But you're here to say it is absolutely fucking reality that people are forward thinking.
For sure.
So you're from, is it home? Birmingham is, I think, where you call
I'm
home
from
now.
Birmingham. Yeah.
Okay, so total. Were you a literature? Because I know you studied English literature, which I think was really interesting. But as a kid, does that mean you were kind of writing? Were you reading? What kind of student were you?
I've certainly have been reading my whole life.
Yeah.
Right. And when I was growing up, my parents got divorced when I was really young, and books were solace, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't watch a lot of television in my house. And so if you wanted an escape, and especially if you weren't going to die in the Alabama heat in July,
Right.
you were going to sit inside and read a book. And when my mom got remarried, my stepdad already had 2 children, and so 2 more kids came to live at our house, which made it 4. My sister and I, in addition to...
Younger sister? Older sister?
Younger. I'm the oldest.
Oh, okay.
And so through that, the only alone time that you got was if you were reading.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's obviously furthering your education.
It has a double purpose. Twofold purpose, right? What kinds of literature were you drawn to? I know you majored in English literature, but were there other things you were, like, not like Jane Eyre or Bronte stuff? I mean, what were you reading?
I love those. I love that Victorian, Edwardian, Brit Lit
Enlightenment
shit.
era? Is that right?
Love it. Yeah, all of it.
Brit shit.
Yeah, love it. I was in Portland recently, and I walked into a bookstore because my worst fear happened, which is I always travel with 2 books. I travel with 2 of these things. I travel with 2 phone chargers, 2 books, 2 pairs of sunglasses.
That's good. Yeah, you'll lose one of them always, right?
And won't be devastated if that happens.
Right.
Right? So I only had 1 book with me. I was doing 4 cities in 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle was first, and I had a flight from Atlanta to Seattle. And about halfway through that flight, I finished my book.
Uh-oh.
Because the book I was reading is called Red Shirts. It's just this, like, sci-fi book. Was the last, like, 50 pages was the first chapter of the next book he had written. But it wasn't, like...
Oh, weird. Okay.
In this line, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't tied to the current book. So, ostensibly, I had no other thing to read. And then I'm in Seattle, and books are my security blanket, right? So I'm in Seattle for a day with nothing to read. It's horrifying to me. And I get to Portland. I go to lunch with my friend, and we part ways, and I walk to this bookstore. And I essentially walk into this bookstore, and I say, all right, look. I need a fiction thing. Mm-hmm. If it was published before 1960, I've probably read it.
Wow.
Give to me a book.
Give to me a book.
Don't disappoint me. And they gave me a great book. The only problem with the book, and I'm still reading it actually, is that it's book 2 in a series.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me that.
They didn't tell you about book 1?
No.
Oh, shit.
And I'm not completely lost. Because it's sort of like reading Terry Pratchett, where they go together, but they're not. You don't have to read them in chronological order.
Right. Like for me, I don't read nearly enough, but I do love movies. I always love movies.
Yeah.
But American Horror Story is that way?
Yeah,
where it's just like a theme, but you could watch season 2. You don't have to watch season 1. So that kind of thing, where you're not totally lost.
Right.
So this begs a question. So I moved around a lot, too, when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, every 3 years or so.
Oh, wow.
Like right in the middle of high school, right in the middle of junior high. It was really, really tough. Music for me, right? So for you, the book piece, did you find that you were an outgoing person otherwise? Or the books both helped kind of keep you safe in a way and keep you kind of feeling protected from those other social situations?
I mean, I've always sort of been a person that doesn't fit in, right? Or felt that way.
What do you think it was about you that was an outcast? Were you punk rock? You know, that's often a...
Sure. I went to a school, I went to like junior high at a place where it could have been the set of Mean Girls.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I just don't subscribe to that on Wednesdays we wear pink shit.
It's pointless.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not me necessarily trying to be an iconoclast as much as it is, or even a nonconformist as much as it is, that I'm not going to participate in things I don't find appealing.
Right, of course.
And so I've learned how to entertain myself through that, right? So in junior high, I was reading a lot because I didn't want to be there.
Oh, I see.
And so that was my sort of act of rebellion, is I don't need to kowtow to what you want me to be in order to fit in. I have this wealth of outside world that
at your
you
disposal,
don't,
almost.
that you don't want to participate in. So it's fine.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to look at it. I mean, musics do that. It's immersive.
Yeah, for sure.
And you kind of get to go learn these things. And obviously, I mean, your vocabulary has absolutely benefited from all the reading. just in the brief few minutes we've been talking, you can tell that it's absolutely been an ancillary benefit of the reading. Perhaps, maybe, do you feel like, so movies do a good job of this, especially when we're growing up, books do a good job of this? Do you feel like your perspective on love and romance was also horribly tainted by books, making it seem far more idealistic?
I mean, I have the worst love life of any one person I know.
Why is that? Or not why is that, how is that?
How is that? I mean, I'm at a literal loss for words of how that is. Okay. But it manifests itself in a way where I'm a very honest person.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm blunt and I don't want to waste time.
Right.
I've a bunch of other shit. I got 1,000 irons in the fire, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait 3 days for you to call me back.
Yeah.
Either you want to hang out with me or you don't.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you know, I will make time in my life for you if I think you're worthwhile. And I will go out of my way for those people. And then once I've reached a breaking point, that's it.
No more.
I have zero interest in pursuing it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's interesting. And I didn't think we would talk about this particular piece, but being someone that is very much rooted in the analog world, right? As I think we both grew up kind of the same way. Do you find it just remarkably sad or remarkably interesting that people can date with their phones?
It's
they can just
super weird to me.
It's weird, right?
It's super weird to me. I watch Tinder dates, you know, or online dates. I watch those things happen all the time. And a friend of mine was in Birmingham recently, and he was telling me about this app, Bumble. Right?
Bumble, yeah.
And so we're talking about it, and I said, I don't feel like I can internet date, not because I'm opposed to it, not like that I feel like there's a shame assigned to it or like any of that shit. It's because I've watched so many of those things happen.
Yeah.
Right? One. And then also enough people, because of social media, think they know things about you. Right? Like they have a preconceived notion of,
absolutely.
of you. And especially I use my social media to promote the things that I do. So to promote the places that I work, to
Right.
promote the events that I do. And on the internet, I make everything look fun because that's what it's for.
Yeah, you can control that.
Right.
The facade.
Right. And I don't feel like I'm a different person, but I definitely don't put everything out there.
Mm.
Right? Because I don't feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So people walk into the bar all the time and say, are you Steva? Or are you still my records? Because my Instagram
Yeah.
still my records.
Yeah.
And it's not, my name's not assigned to it.
Yeah.
So people will ask me those questions, and then they have an idea about me based on that outlet, which I can't be mad about because I control those. Yeah,
right.
But they have an idea about me based on those things.
Mm.
So that already happens.
Do you like that?
It's a little weird.
I suppose. I mean, because in a way, you're the media that someone could research about,
Right?
If you wanted,
Right. It's a little weird, but it's always, or not always, but it's usually an icebreaker. Mm. They have then this air of familiarity where we can move past small talk, which is my least favorite thing in the whole world.
That's good.
Right?
I'm right there with you.
So we don't have to talk about the weather now. They have touchstones of things they've seen.
Yeah.
Like last year, I had a personal goal to see 100 new places.
Just abroad or in Alabama or wherever?
Wherever.
Okay.
And it was 100 places that were not booze related.
Yeah.
Unless they were distilleries.
Oh, I like that.
So people would want to talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because regular ass people don't think they can travel as much as they could actually travel.
Sure.
Because of those 100 places, 40 of them were in and around Alabama.
Well,
so
it's not about the availability of the places. It's about exposing yourself to new things, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Expanding your mind.
Right.
Which I like that. Do you consider yourself, I mean, obviously physically because you're going to 100 places, but mentally too? Are you always ready to discuss things that you don't know about, that you want to learn about? Nothing's off limits.
No.
That's good.
I don't think so. Because I want to know. I read so much because I want to know.
Yeah. Inquiring minds want to know.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, then it makes a lot of sense that you would go to school proper for literature. Was there a big push to be that college kid? Were your parents saying, Stevie, you really need to go get a degree, like many of us experienced?
Right. So I went to a magnet high school, and it was the understood that that's what you did. That was your next step. Mm. And so I really wanted to go to Swanee.
Where is that in Alabama as well?
Swanee's in Tennessee.
Okay.
It's also called the University of the South. It's a great liberal arts school. And I really wanted to go to Swanee. In hindsight, I'm happy that I didn't go to Swanee for multiple reasons. But in that time that I was shopping colleges, my mother was very sick with colon cancer. Mm. And so I didn't want to leave Birmingham.
I understand that. Yeah.
Right. So I went to UAB, which is University of Alabama, Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And because of this magnet school and because of essentially you take AP classes exclusively from 10th grade on.
Wow, you're saving a bit of money.
I entered college as a sophomore.
Wow, that's crazy.
So my entire freshman year, gone.
Yeah.
And then most of the rest of it was scholarship.
Scholarship stuff. Wow.
So.
As a writer or just as a...
Actually, academic.
Yeah.
I started college as an engineering major.
No kidding.
My father's an engineer.
Mm. What's that? Mechanical, chemical?
Mechanical. Yeah. He's a mechanical engineer without the degree.
Gotcha. So
when my dad was, in his 20s, college was not of utmost importance.
Mm-hmm. Getting a trade was.
Yeah, you needed to work. So he went to draftsman school and is ostensibly a mechanical engineer.
That's so crazy.
And I love math, and I'm pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the thing we always connected about, right? And so I'm very pragmatic, and so I tried to be pragmatic about when I went into college, I shouldn't be an English major.
Mm-hmm.
Because what am I going to do with that degree?
Yeah.
Right? So I started as an engineering major. And because I comped out of my entire freshman year, my first math class was Cal 2.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's a little bit elevated.
Yeah. And I definitely worked in high school at being a student, but I don't have necessarily an eidetic memory, but I have a great memory, which serves me really well bartending.
Absolutely.
Side note. But because I'm practically a photographic memory most of the time, studying was not a thing I did a lot because I had a full-time job in high school. I had to.
What were you doing?
I was working at a movie theater.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked 30 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got to college and I start Cal 2, that's a job.
Yeah.
You know? And I wasn't prepared for it. And I wasn't prepared for not being the smartest person in the room.
Interesting. Okay. Was it in any way a culture shock going from maybe the high school, which you kind of were talking about,
right,
going to college and lots of different kinds of people, lots of smart people? Was it hard for you, that transition?
No, not necessarily because it was a magnet school and it was sourced from all over Jefferson County. There were a lot of, you didn't go to middle school with the people you went to high school with.
Oh, okay.
So you had to reform those relationships in high school anyway. So going to college, and because I had a job where everyone I worked with went to a different school, I had learned how to form those relationships. Totally yeah. So that part wasn't really an issue. But, being in those classes and really working at it and still trying to maintain a full-time job.
Yeah.
At 18, 19, 20, it was a lot. So.
Could we consider that the beginning of the end of your academic career?
No. I switched. I essentially had this conversation with myself where I said, math's always going to be a part of my life, obviously, because it can't not be.
Right.
But this isn't, I don't want to sit at a desk for the rest of my life. So what are we going to do to achieve higher learning and not have to sit at a desk?
Okay. That's a pretty good puzzle to solve.
Right. So I'm still trying to figure that out, to be perfectly honest. But it was sort of in the meantime, I'm going to be an English major.
Yeah.
Because I'm good at this.
And you like it.
And I like it.
Were you as good of a writer as you were a reader?
I'm an okay writer.
Yeah. Do you enjoy writing the same way?
I enjoy writing copy.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I don't necessarily... I write little stupid poems, that are like, I don't know if we're friends on Facebook, so I don't know if you see this, but every Friday I post a Friday service poem.
Do you really? I have to check that out then.
It's usually in a haiku form.
I like 757, right?
Yep.
No?
Or 575.
That's
how I do it, yeah. And so it's usually that in that form, and it's a way to sort of decompress from a 12-hour shift and still be positive about the place where you work.
Yeah, venting a little bit. But that is a very constructive way because you've got parameters in the actual meter of what you're trying to write. So there's the math for you.
Right.
It's creeping back in.
Right. And ridiculous things happen at work all the time.
I can imagine. Well, so then it begs the question. Now that we know that the thesis is, I want to go to college, but I don't want to sit at a desk. Not necessarily a desk in class, but I get it.
Right.
Corporate desk. How and when does this hospitality piece enter your life? When does this become maybe your calling?
So when I was 19, I started working at this Middle Eastern restaurant. Birmingham has a lot of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern style restaurants, like Euro kind of shops. And so I started working at this restaurant called Monier's. And, you know, like all through high school when I'm working at the movie theater, it's customer service based, for sure, right? But so now at Monier's, they're regulars, and it's a family. And I work for a family. It's not corporate. And you know the people who are going to come in.
Yeah.
And they're your friends. And they become your friends, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was working there. And then I started working. While I was still working there, I got a fine dining job as a WA because you couldn't, in Alabama, you couldn't wait tables at a place that served alcohol until you were 21.
Ah, okay.
So I worked there as a WA until I turned 21 and I could wait tables. And when I was doing that, you know, I was making a living.
Yeah.
And it was fun and I was learning things because the restaurant where I worked, the fine dining restaurant where I worked, was a French restaurant.
Oh, plenty to learn, yeah.
Wine list all French.
Yeah.
You
Classic
know,
mother sauces.
Yeah, all of it. And the people who owned that restaurant are amazing individuals, and they really wanted to teach people.
Wow.
And wanted to teach me, and I wanted to learn all of the things.
Like a student of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting that, right? The books help. The food helps.
Yeah.
The wine helps.
Yeah, for sure.
When you talk about this customer service piece where you're going, corporate owned's always different than doing a mom and pop. Do you enjoy the learning piece about people too? Because in a way,
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you find the public doesn't bother you. In fact, you embrace them and all of their flaws and still try to enjoy them.
I mean, I would lie if I said I enjoyed all of them.
Well,
right?
That's impossible, yeah.
But this is my favorite game. I'll paint you this tableau.
Yeah.
Right? So this is my favorite game to play when I'm in a room full of people that I don't know.
Okay.
Like, say that we're at an event together.
Sure.
And we've sort of run out of things to talk about. Mm-hmm. Right? And so it's a great game to play with people you don't really know that well.
I might play this game. It sounds exciting already.
So the object is to pick your favorite looking person in the room that you don't know. Okay. And you tell a story about them. What you think their name is, what you think they do for a living, why they're at this event. Yeah. And it can be rooted in fact, it could be rooted in fiction. Mm-hmm. Like certainly if you're at a liquor event, at some point it's going to be that like this guy didn't wander in off the street. Right? Like he's at a liquor event because he was invited. Mm-hmm. So what do you think he does for a living?
Yeah. It narrows the scope of what you can talk about in a way.
But it's also a great way to, for me, it's a great way to build my craft in the sense that I read people when they come into the bar. And, people go to bars because they want to be happy. They don't go to bars because they want to have a bad time. Right? So it's my job to make them happy.
And the better that you maybe can, profile them.
Sure.
In a sense, right? Not in a bad way, in a good way.
In a good way.
Make them happy.
In a way that I want them to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I want to be the third date. I don't want to be the first date.
Yeah.
Right? So, you build a rapport, and if you have a sense of things that they like, then you're already starting to build that rapport.
Yeah.
The same way that people want to talk to me about my Instagram account.
Yeah.
Because they want to build that rapport and they want to already be on a familiar term with me.
Right.
Which is fun.
Because they feel like they know you already.
Right, for sure. I mean?
Which, that's a dangerous thing. Like you said, kind of.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, wait. In air one time, someone sent me an invitation to a wedding. Mm-hmm. And they did it in metallic script. So all with an ink and everything.
Right.
My name is Mike with the the Metallica. I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I took a picture of it. Well, stupidly, I took a picture of the address or the envelope that was addressed to me.
Oh.
So I gave out my home address.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, shit. And I didn't even realize it. So sometimes there are these massive things that we're exposing about ourselves through social media that we inadvertently do. And it is kind of scary. And you're what I would consider a decorated person in the industry, a spokesman for Alabama, and especially in the booze world. And I mean, you can accept it or not, but really there's a lot of stuff out there about you. So in a way, you got to be more careful. People don't care. There's not a lot of people that have high profiles, or highly visible profiles, but I think you do. Does it ever make you kind of question or be reticent about what you're going to post?
So I was having this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday where we were talking about what people post on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I'm very honest with when I hire people and I say, okay, look, I'm a master of the internet. There's not a thing that you've put on the internet that I can't find.
That's great.
Right? So if you speak in a derogatory manner about another bar in our town, about the bar where you work, I'm not going to hire you. Like, two cents about it. And so we were having a conversation about someone who's in our industry that, for lack of a better term, just gives zero fucks about, or makes it appear that he gives zero fucks about what people think of him, right? Mm-hmm. And so he just posts things on the internet that I always say to people, you have to operate the internet like people don't have a sense of humor, because sarcasm doesn't translate.
That's right. It's flat.
Right. In text. And so he posts these things that I don't really know him that well, right? So to me, it sounds self-serving and sanctimonious.
Yes, I know of people that do this same thing. Yeah.
Right. And so I really have zero interest of ever being your friend. Mm-hmm. Which, if I delve deeper into what he's also posted on the internet, we have similar interests. And I don't think that he's a stupid person by any means.
And
right?
probably the opposite.
Right.
So smart to be able to do that and have a captive audience if I think we're going down the same path with who this person may in fact be. But, yeah, it's strange.
Right.
Disparity.
So, and it's not on me to tell you that you're being self-serving. That's not my job.
Right.
I don't police the internet. That's not my job. Mm-hmm. So rather than engage, because I don't know him that well, I just choose to disengage completely.
Yeah. That's good.
And that is self-preservation for me.
Yeah.
Because I made a vow to myself several years ago that I'm not going to argue with people on the internet.
It's pretty good. It's a noble.
It does nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? And if I want to waste my time, there are far better ways for me to waste my time than to argue with someone on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
About how they don't like purple, or whatever the fuck they're trying to say is stupid that day.
Purple's great, by the way. I don't know what the hell the deal is with purple.
Right. Think it's amazing.
It's great.
So it's just like that kind of internet profile that I have to be okay with strangers wanting to talk to me about it, right? Because I put it out there.
It's true.
And it's public.
Talking point at that point.
Yeah, and it's public. I hate when people make their Instagram profile private.
I don't even know why.
It makes me crazy.
Because I could share the pic.
It makes me crazy. Yeah. Also, side note, you can make your profile private. If you're hashtagging it, I can still find it.
Exactly. Security moves, man.
You can block me, and if your profile's not private, I can still find your pictures.
Yeah. People don't know. How do you think I do build a dossier for each of the guests on the show? The internet is a vast resource.
Oh, yeah.
And I can find out many different things.
For sure.
I found out a guest who signed a contract about an equity merger and like a shift in equity, and I had a birthday and everything. She asked me, how do you know how old I was? I go, I found the contract you signed. Like, does that make me a creep? Maybe. Or maybe is it just due diligence? To your point.
It's public on the internet.
Yeah. If you're hiring someone that you know has a bad track record, it's shame on you in a sense, right?
Right.
Putting them in front of your customers like that. Well,
for sure. Well, it's also, I don't know. Yeah, to your point, I don't know what you say to guests.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can't trust that you're going to be a professional because you're certainly not a professional on the internet.
Right. People are nothing but consistent.
Right.
Consistently assholes, consistently nice, whatever it may be.
For sure.
They're always consistent. Well, so there's a lot of facets to you, and I want to, because I know you got some great things to coordinate, which we'll talk about Tiki by the Sea here shortly. But when did booze become interesting to you? I know you have a certain level of sommelier certification for wine, which that makes sense. You're in the French restaurant. But for the booze piece, like, was it a romantic thing for you ever? Did you ever have a relationship with it? Was it something that your parents drank?
My parents never drank a lot when I was growing up. Or, like, not memorably, right?
Right.
And so I started working at a French restaurant. And then that just sort of snowballed into now I'm in the restaurant business.
Right.
And always fine dining. I've always been in fine dining. And so I was working at this restaurant. And like you said, I am a somm. And so I was working at the restaurant. And I became head waiter, which essentially is I'm managing the floor while also waiting tables. And I was managing the wine list. And so the only way I was going to get a raise at this restaurant was that if I was also managing the bar.
Oh, I see. Okay. Out of necessity in a way.
Because the owner said, look, what's the point of us hiring someone to manage the bar when you do 3/4 of it already? Right? Because you do all the other booze except liquor. And so I started, and I had like picked up a shift here or there, or I had worked at a restaurant that didn't really have a bartender, and so I had some mechanics.
Yeah.
Right? So I started working behind this bar, and didn't feel like I knew anything. So, and it was like 2007. I'm working behind this bar. I don't really feel like I know anything, but I don't want to appear like I don't know anything. Right? So I start reading about booze, and I start watching videos on YouTube. And probably like 2008, 2009 is when that was really, I was just like watching all these Chris McMillan videos. I don't know if you know who Chris McMillan is.
No, I've heard the name, but
he's a bartender in New Orleans. That's like an old guard of the bartenders in New Orleans. And is a great teacher, right? And not everyone is a great teacher.
Sure.
Right? So I didn't, when I started waiting tables and I was WAing at this restaurant, this is like 98, 99, 2000.
Different deal altogether, yeah. I
remember the first time someone ordered a Ramos Gin Fizz, and the bartender and I were both like, we have zero idea what that is.
Yeah.
Right? And she was 80 if she was a damn day old.
Oh, that's amazing.
She orders this Ramos Gin Fizz, and, I'm 20. I don't know a thing about a thing.
Yeah.
And the bartender, who is one of these, like, I got this bar job because it pays for my music career kind of dudes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He's great. Now he's a real estate agent. Side note. And
worked out okay.
Right. Still plays music, though, so that's good. So he's got the Mr. Boston book, right? And he says, it says it has an egg white in it. And I was like, weird. And so then we're talking about it, and like Mr. Boston doesn't tell you that you should shake that cocktail twice or for X amount of minutes or anything, right? It's just like recipe. So it was maybe the worst drink I'd ever tasted.
Wow.
And she obviously didn't care for it either. And so my thought was, as long as I don't make anyone unhappy like that woman was unhappy about that Ramos.
Yeah.
Also, I need to perfect that cocktail.
Right. Side note.
Right. Side note. Then I'll be doing it. I'll be doing all right.
Yeah.
And so I started learning about booze, and I already had a love of like cognacs and Armagnacs and all that.
All that good stuff.
All that stuff from working at French restaurant.
Yeah.
Because that's what we drank as shift drink, because the chef was French. And so he drank wine, or he drank brandy spirit.
Yeah.
Grape-based spirits or Calvados. And so when it was your birthday, he was going to share Calvados with you.
That's amazing.
Which is great.
Favorite, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I started doing booze. And then I was working at this restaurant. So I left and came back to the same restaurant. Because I left to go manage another restaurant. Then I came back.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I took over the bar. And that was 2010. And so that's when, in Birmingham especially, this whole, we want to make bartending, we want to legitimize it to ourselves, not the public.
Right, yeah.
So the way that we're going to legitimize it to ourselves is to call you a mixologist.
By title.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if we just call you a bartender, then to us it's not a career.
That's use of it's an interesting use of language that's commonplace in everything.
Right.
Politics or whatnot, you know.
So if I give you a fancy title, it's perceived step up in this social class where bartenders are people who pop beers.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem being a bartender. That is my job. That is what I do. Right. I tend a bar. I don't. There are so many facets to that job. And you as a layman don't need to understand it because it's not your job.
Right.
Like there are many facets to being a lawyer. That is not my job.
Right.
So I don't need to understand all of the facets of that job. I understand a vast majority of them.
Yeah. But that's their expertise. You be an expert at that. That's yeah. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I mean, I even know how heart works. I can cut it open.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Which is funny because, you can go real deep in this industry, though. It's like, oh, I'm pouring this thing.
Right.
But I can go to where they make this thing and then where they grow this thing. And there's just a hell of a rabbit hole that you can get into.
For sure.
But what I would consider a decorated career behind the bar, you've recently shifted away from that into working and helping organize with Tiki by the Sea, right?
I'm still bartending full time.
Okay, you are still. So you're still doing both. Okay, good. And wanted more challenges, wanted more new experiences. How did you get involved with Tiki by the Sea?
Well, I've been helping coordinate cocktail-related events for several years, 2012-ish on, in various facets. And I plan a lot of events. I've planned events in Birmingham for a long time. I run a pop-up dinner series.
Oh, cool.
I've run for 3 years. So...
Not too foreign to you. You know how to do events.
Yeah. So I know how to do events. And do you know Pam Wisnitzer?
I know of her. I've not met her, yeah.
Pam is a good friend of mine. And Pam and Pete Nevangloski, who is Nate's partner at Avwa, are good friends. And Pete needed to hire a person to be the coordinator for Tiki by the Sea. Wow. And so he and Pam were talking about it, and she recommended me to him.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I got that particular job.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit what this event entails. I know you were talking about Bayou Rum is one of the sponsors, Drambuie, a few others.
It's a multi-day cocktail festival for all intents and purposes. But it's an invite only. And this year this is the 3rd year. So this year we did an application.
Oh, cool.
Because the first year that Pete did it, it was just New York bartenders.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete's parents own a motel on the shore.
Oh, cool.
And so he really wanted to just like exemplify Wildwood and show people of New York that going to the shore isn't watching episodes of Jersey Shore.
Right.
Right? And Wildwood is an amazing place. And so that's how it started the first year. And then by last year, by the time I was brought on, most of the attendees had already been chosen.
Wow.
Because so many people had reached out to him after year one and said, how do I get involved in this thing? And so, my recommendation was if we want to broaden our scope to a national platform, we should do an application.
Perfect, yeah.
And that's sort of based on my relationship with Lush Life and the friendship I have with them and how successful I've seen them be with their application-based events.
Yeah, I mean, it's improved year over year.
Right.
Just the process, technology, all that.
Right, they're great.
Yeah.
They do a great job. So we did an application base, and, we had applications from all over the country and Canada.
Wow.
So it's been really great. And so we take 50 people. They all meet in New York, and then we take them all down to the shore, and we spend 3 days at the shore. And there are 9 seminars. So our event is a little bit different than other events because they are seminars and events, but everyone stays at the same place.
I see. That's good. It makes sense. You have a more cohesive culture that way. Yeah.
Because it's hard to, and it's sugarcane-based spirits. Excuse me, not exclusively rum, not exclusively cachaças.
Right.
Right? So because of that, we can't really go to a rum distillery unless you go to New England.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't have their own sugarcane fields.
Right.
So we teach seminars about it, and we bring people in who know a lot about rum or sugarcane-based spirits in general, and tiki. So it's tiki based.
Yeah. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Especially as it is, to your point, getting to be the July months.
Yeah.
Dog days of summer.
And tiki's garnered a lot of resurgence in the last 5 years.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the fact that people even know what cachaça is now and use it in that kind of application is almost profound.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a huge, huge change. Well, so I know you've got a call to talk about the future of this event, talk about some other great things going on there in New Jersey that are not Jersey Shore-ish, which is really good to hear, to be honest. That's great. As a person from Texas, kind of how we interpret it sometimes. Right. But I know you got to head back to Alabama. You did the Negroni Week stuff here, helping bedazzle some bras, which, of course, I need to get more pictures of that. Yeah. It's just good. It's just a crazy application of fashion. But so I've got one question to ask everybody. This will be my last question for you, because got to head out. I'm excited to ask you this. So let's say you're anywhere in the world. Okay. Drinking whatever you want.
Okay. I'm there.
You're there visualizing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have a conversation and share a drink with anybody living or deceased. Who would you love just to sit there and have a conversation with? I'm sure there are tons of people. Actual or fictional? Either way.
Okay, well, I'm in Sapporo. And I'm drinking apple brandy because Nika makes apple brandy. They don't export.
I saw that. Yeah, the 30-year. That's crazy.
So they're also making cider, which blows my mind. Really? And makes me very excited.
Yeah, I want to taste it.
So I'm definitely drinking apple brandy in Sapporo. I have a lot of questions for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I could be basic and say Bukowski, right? Like, why are you such a poor, suffering bastard? Tell me your ways. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a great question. Someone asked me the other day if your table was 6 people and you invited 6 people to dinner, and I said, can it be Michelle Obama 5 times over? Like. I want to hear from someone who wants to make the world better.
Yeah.
And be gracious about it. and not be, I'm out in public and I want you to know how much money I give to charity.
Right. Yeah, they don't talk about it. They just do it.
They just do it.
True philanthropist. Yeah.
I want to have a conversation with that kind of person. I don't know who that person is
I can't even name somebody either, yeah.
But I want to have a conversation with that kind of person. Because that's the kind of person I strive to be.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make this world better for it.
Yeah.
And be about it. Like, if you're living your life, if you're going to be about it, be about it. So
unapologetic, right?
I mean, everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
Own what you own and just be about it. So, I don't know. I don't know who I would. I've had lots of conversations with lots of people that I admire.
Well, it works. As long as you feel like you are being the person that you strive to be. It sounds like it.
I'm working at it.
Every day, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the only person that I need to answer to is me 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? And the only person that I need to make proud is me 10 years ago. Because that person, those two people, have an expectation of what me right now is.
Yeah.
So that's the only person, those are the only two people, is me past and future, that I feel like I have to answer to.
Yeah. I like it. It's not a duality, but a trinity in a sense, right? There's three components of us.
Yeah. I'm just being Jacob Marley over here.
There you go. I like it. Well, it's been, I'm guilty like anybody else. I know the Instagram.
Yeah,
I've seen
for sure.
the posts, it's cool. I'm glad that people recognize you for that one piece of what is a very complex person. I mean, it's been really a pleasure getting to dive into it and kind of like have unfettered access to the sense to just kind of talk about things. Well, it's great to see you in town. I know you'll be back again. You got some good friends here in Austin, and can't wait to see what's next. I'm gonna keep staying tuned. Maybe I'll learn some more things about you, Steva. Thank you so much.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Well, there we have it, Miss Steva Casey from Tiki by the Sea. A very well-versed, well-read, articulate speaker, charismatic. She phrases her sentences in such a lovely way, so sophisticated, much like the Brits themselves in many cases. It's great to know that she's been in this industry fighting hard for honesty, fighting hard for education, and so much more, really. So, Steva, thank you for taking that time out from Bedazzling Bras in Austin, Texas, to come down and speak with me. And thank you for listening to Show to View with Mike G. No matter how many Kurt Russell movies you're seeking to watch on Amazon Prime, or if you're thinking, how can Silicon Valley get any better? Please keep dancing.